Welcome to the show. Thank you for
Thanks,
being
man.
here. It's a funny one, this conversation, considering
Yeah.
where we met, and um, I'm gonna like I honestly can't remember meeting you for the first time, but I can imagine from where I was that I like, if funny saying this to you in person, I had probably like a sense of awe because you had a green lid, and that's what I was trying to do, and but I do remember noticing that like you were the guy that I wanted taking my training because you seemed like the least aggressive and like least scary to me as a young guy.
Oh, thanks,
Like,
man. Yeah, I got that a bit, to be fair.
what do you mean?
Um, I've heard that more than once in
Mhm.
that I was just a lot more chilled out.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
And I genuinely think that really helped me in training, like having someone that was
that's good to hear.
a bit more chilled out. Obviously, like still had that sense of urgency everywhere. But it's I suppose my question is like, have you always had that kind of mentality of a bit more laid back?
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been very chilled. The only time I wasn't, so obviously to put it in context, I was one of your corporals in training for Marines. And I can completely see why you thought the other guys weren't as chilled out and a bit scarier. But I had the other side where when it came to the actual soldiering and the stuff that mattered to me that would keep you alive, then I would hammer down hard on the guys. So I wasn't that bothered about whether there was a bit of dirt on your mess tin, but I was bothered when it came to attacking the enemy or doing something that would um, cause you or your friends grief in the future.
Were you
So
like
that
that before you deployed?
probably not so much. I was always chilled out.
Mm.
Um, I've never taken stuff too seriously, but seriously enough to make sure I was a good soldier. Um, but yeah. And then I was bothered about for you guys particularly being like one of my troops. Uh, like the fitness side of things bothered me as well because I didn't want any of you to be like loafing at the back.
Mhm. What's that like going through? It's funny having this opportunity because I'd like if we're in the pub, I'd never get to ask you like speak to you like this. But like, what's it like going through being responsible for other people's training, having deployed, having experienced everything you've experienced, and I'm sure we'll get into mentality in a bit, but yeah, we'll leave it there. Like, what's it like being responsible for people's training?
I really enjoyed it. I actually is one of the best jobs I did in the military. And I know me and the other lads who were taking you were really like privileged to be in that position. And we had all deployed. I deployed before them, and then they deployed after me. We'd all have tough tours. So you guys had a load of corporals that had good military experience, and it was one of the best jobs in the Marines just because you got to put a bit of yourself into, I got to you guys recognize that I was very chilled out yet I'd hope to think professional and very fit. And I got to put a bit of that to you guys to show what I thought was important in being a soldier, as well as the general being a Royal Marine and what you had to do. I got to put a bit of my personality into you guys as well, which I personally thought was quite important because it's
Yeah.
not all about raging and being crazy and shouting and stuff like. Sometimes, there can be a bit more of a delicate edge to being a good soldier, I believe.
Mhm. But
Um,
I found that, and this isn't just to fucking give you compliments, but it's going to sound like that. I found that way more useful for me in that there was like this. If someone's just thrashing you and screaming at you, you're just like, okay, this is part of the job. I'm just playing the game. But when you were like, hey, that was shit, that made me switch on and go. It's there's probably a bit of like, oh no, I've disappointed daddy. But like but there was definitely more because you had like it wasn't just 100% rage the whole time. There was
yeah.
definitely more of like a like that has a reason behind it.
And there's different personalities, aren't there? So
Yeah, you
some
say
people
that.
Yeah. So some people respond better to the way I was, and some people would respond better to the way, say, Sean was, whose nickname was Crazy for a reason. There's different ways of training and there's different ways of teaching people, and some people learn one way and some people learn another. And I think that's why you need different types of people in training.
Do you reckon there have been drawbacks for you personally, professionally, um, in the military and outside of it, of having a more calm demeanor? Or do you reckon it's always been positives? I know you've always had like your mentality, it's always been your subjective experience, so it's a very different
Yeah.
comparison. But has there been like downsides to that strength?
I think, yeah, there is. And it can take a while for people to take you seriously if you're not like all in and like in your face. So until people get to know me or they actually meet me in person, I can be taken as potentially not very professional. And normally I end up having to show what I can do, which is fine, because I'm not all loud and brash, or which in the Royal Marines can be, you can be overshadowed by people very easily. It's just like in war or something like that, then that's all put to one side, and then it's all about performance. And then it doesn't matter how loud you are.
Well, I suppose that um, leads us quite neatly into Afghan and your deployment. You deployed once.
Yeah, only once, yeah.
Okay, sweet. Um,
God willing.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Well, like you said, it was a very, very difficult tour for you.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so I was on Herrick 12, 2010. I was point man in 7 Troop Charlie Company at 40 Commando. Um, and yeah, we were in Sangin. It was extremely kinetic and just bombs dug in everywhere. And we lost a lot of guys, and it was amazing experience for a soldier as long as you survived. And I learned a lot, and I was surrounded by fantastic people, and it's everything you would want as someone being a Royal Marine Commando, but it comes at a cost as well. So, um, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, exception. Like, and to someone who didn't deploy in that realm, like it's like I genuinely can't imagine it, despite having I probably being in better position than anyone who hasn't been through military training to understand. I just you can't, I think.
no, there's no way of understanding what it was like unless you've been through it, to be honest. Uh,
Yeah, and
you know,
I honestly I look back at it now and think like, would I want to? Would I not want to? Like there's like you said, there's an opportunity to test training, but also like a I always wondered how I'd thrive. Or like cope. I wondered whether it be the thing that went, hey, Tom, this is who you're really made of. Or on the other hand, hey, Tom, this is who you're really made of. Like it seems like a point, an inflection point.
yeah, it's easy sitting here now, 15 years, whatever later, and reflecting on how you behaved and stuff like that. But the reality is, I had absolutely no idea how I would be once the rounds started coming the other way. Um, and once you start getting blown up and people are getting hurt and stuff, you just have no idea how you're going to react. Um, I was, I performed as good as I could, and did what I could to save people or fight the Taliban and things like that. But the reality is, it doesn't matter who you think you are going out there. You just have. I don't think you have any idea how you're actually going to behave until it actually happens. Obviously, training kicks in and things like that, but there's a personal edge to it as well, and mentally, you've got to be able to deal with that, and it becomes very real very quickly. So it's not the same as training's training. It's important, and the Royal Marines are one of the best regiments in the world for a reason because it's hard, and they set you up fantastically well. But there's varying differences in how guys deal with certain situations.
Was there anything that surprised you in how you acted out there? Was there anything like, hey, that came out of me and I didn't expect it to, um, or that didn't come out and I expected it to come out? Anything like shocked you about what you found out about yourself there?
More aggressive than I thought.
Huh.
So, yeah, like you said, I'm real chilled out, dude. I am like always have been really happy go. Like, I got given the name Duty Happy Bloke and a badge on my arm for a reason, and it wasn't irony. It is genuine. I've always been super positive, cheery guy, but when it came to us fighting the enemy, I was way more aggressive and capable of stuff than I thought I would be, and that for me is quite shocking. And I
Positively
have to
shocking, or
also pinch myself now and think, Jesus, like what I was personally capable of did surprise me. Um, but it's also why I'm still here to a degree.
yes, it's like it just fascinates me that like any of us have that in, and you kind of hear stories outside of the military of like what people uncover within themselves, like the
Mhm.
classic mother defending their child. But finding that aggression within you must be kind of scary as well.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I left and didn't carry on. So knowing what you're capable of, but then the mental toll that what you're capable of is then going to have on you. I didn't want to become that person into my 40s because, long story short, I suffered with PTSD as a result of friends dying and reliving situations over and over and over again. But I also knew what I was capable of. And if I had continued and deployed and, I would have been a serious mess by the time I was 40 and not processed all the things that had happened to me. So it was part of my process of leaving and reason for leaving was because I knew what I was capable of. Um, which sounds, a lot of people go on about special forces and guys staying in the military for long careers and stuff, and that was my exact reason to leave. uh,
Because you
because
didn't want
I
to
didn't
have
want to
that part of
personally
you
become
encouraged.
become that. Sorry, say
Yeah.
again.
No, it's because you didn't want to have that part of you like kind of elicited, like kind of given the opportunity. Like we know that
Yeah.
we adapt to the context we're in. So to be like change your context, but also that requires not a different kind of, but a degree of courage too.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that go, "Oh, I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that and stuff," and I have zero regrets.
Mm.
I don't regret leaving whatsoever. I've gone on to do all the things I really enjoyed in the military, like the mountaineering. Ultras aren't military orientated, but the fitness side of things, um, and
It definitely helps.
working with people and good people. In the military, I work with good people all the time, and I've worked with good people in personal life as well. So I've kind of, don't get me wrong, like not everything's rosy all the time, and I have problems and everything, but I've managed to kind of keep those good aspects of the military and still do a lot of that. I've kept my good friends and people I really loved in the military. I still spend time with them, so it's I still get all those kind of plus points from it.
Yeah, I think the kind of the arc that I want to take this conversation on is like is kind of starting. Or I suppose we've already started, but can go into a little bit of where your mentality was at around leaving and like what it was like to be in your mind and how that journey's transformed through. I know there's a lot we can talk about and probably way too much to jam into another 40 minutes or so. When we
Yeah.
take, yeah, there's so much there, but I just like kind of let's start off with like what was it like to be you around actually probably around training me and the rest of the lads in our troop, but also like that process of leaving. Like what was it like to be in your mind at that time?
So I won the medal, uh, Bronze Star with Valor in 2011, so a year after I got back from the tour. So that comes with, I'm the only person in the RMR and Marines that got one. That comes with added pressure of being someone that is seen as doing something brave or extraordinary especially in the RMR in the reserves, because there's not many of us like that. And that doesn't mean I think I did anything different. Like all the lads I was with did brave stuff, and we were up against it like every day. So it just happened that I got it, and I was a point man, and I found bombs and tried to save people and stuff like that. And that's just what happened. But that added extra pressure to then, and then you're given opportunities. And obviously I did the junior command course and I did well on that, and then I would go on Norway's and do well on that, and then you were like, well, I may as well carry on being a soldier. But in the back of my mind I'm thinking, I'm actually struggling to process all the things that have happened, and there's no like downtime to sort anything out, or no one's helping you. And then I was doing I got my papers for briefing course for SBS, and I was going to do that, and I was training for that whilst training you guys. Um, and then my sergeant major, we just had a sit down and had. And the other thing is, I always had good people around me, and they're always really honest with me, which was really great. And he just said to me, "You've done most things that, like, you've already done most things, and what do you want to do with the rest of your life?" Um, and we had a really open, honest chat, and I was just like, to be honest, I don't want to be the type of person I know I'm going to become if I go special forces.
What was the reaction to that?
What
Yeah.
he was in complete agreement,
Huh.
and thought that outside of the military, I'd probably go on to not do better things, but different things that might align better with my beliefs. Because I wasn't overly happy with the experience in Afghan. I thought it was pretty pointless. I knew I was going to end up doing more
You mean
pointless.
politically?
I mean, politically,
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're doing ground domination patrols. We left. The Americans we swapped over with the Americans, and then the whole area was gone within a year. Like, we done all that work to then lose the ground like that. It's pointless. Regardless of it's not our fault, and it's not anyone's fault who's there. It's not our fault, the Americans' fault. Not
It's
the
kind of
not the lads on
inevitable.
the ground, but the actual tactics and reason for being there were not aligned with what I believe. Um, so then you're thinking of joining special forces, or become. My other thing was doing the ML course, which probably would have aligned better with me being on my own. uh, but and from what I've now gone on to doing mountaineering and things, I love it, so it would have made sense. But still, when you don't believe in what you've been doing and you're just doing it for the lads around you, and essentially the crack being a younger man, when you actually think about doing it for the next 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, it made sense to leave and do something else.
Yeah.
Um, Not an easy decision. I come from a family of, two people in my family who were in the SAS. So I knew the reality of that as well, which is a bonus, because I know
Mm.
it's yes, it's great because you're reaching the better levels of professional soldiering. But I also know it's not the be all and end all, and I also know so many people that suffered as a result of going in. So I knew kind of the realities of it, and that was the discussion I had with my sergeant major, and I'm really pleased, and I still see him all the time. We go skiing every year together, and it was the right decision for me personally. Now, I know some fantastic people in the special forces who really enjoyed their career, and I know loads of guys that have gone in who've hated it. So you never know. In hindsight, it's fantastic, but I'm pleased personally with the decision I made.
Yeah. So in coming out, you obviously, I I don't even know how you how you would term it. We're experiencing PTSD. We're affected by
Yeah.
PTSD. Like what I
So
I,
when
I
I
want
got
to
the
be
medal,
respect. Yeah. Go
yeah.
on.
So when I got the medal, I was drinking too much beforehand after the deployment. Then as soon as I got the medal, I had to go to lots of dues, and I got like reservist of the year type award, and I go to like London dues, and you get your drinking and champagne, and someone stands up and reads your citation out for what I got the medal for, and I was just reliving the same incidents over and over and over again, and all my citation's on the wall here, and it's okay to read it now, but back then, all it reads like is me losing loads of my friends.
Mm.
And the problem is, then I started getting flashbacks daily, and then having really vivid night terrors every day, every night, sorry. And then I realized there was a bit of an issue, and people started realizing there was an issue,
What was
and
your response to that? Because like there's the I imagine that it's fucking terrifying and horrible to be in. But like there's I think my approach in that would have been to ignore it or try and like hope that it goes
well,
away.
I just drunk more.
Did you know that was a coping mechanism?
It, yeah.
Yeah, you knew
Yeah,
you were trying to
I
get away.
know that I go to work all day, work hard, work really hard, so hard that you don't have to think about too much.
Mhm.
And then once work finishes, go down the pub and have 6 pints or whatever, and then pass out once you get home. It's That's how you stop yourself from having to think too much about it.
Yeah,
Um,
unconsciousness. And I
yeah,
suppose like the way that your experience may vary, right? But the literature says to confront anything that is psychologically challenging requires you got to confront it, you got to go towards it, you got to go consciously into it.
yeah.
So like what was the decision like to confront it?
Get professional help.
Mhm.
So it didn't work with the military, the help I got from the military at all. I just pushed it away. I pushed it away, and it also wasn't right for me. So I just had to go down the private road and spend loads of money, which is
Mhm.
what I did. You know,
There must have been a moment where you're like, this needs to happen.
yeah, when life's going like that, and well, work life was all okay, but personal life an absolute mess. Um, And then I was like, right, we have to sort this out. So sort out private therapists. I had EMDR therapy, which got rid of the flashbacks and the night terrors after a year or so of doing EMDR. And then it was just all about working on myself, which took a long time. And then quitting drinking eventually, and then the ball was rolling then, and then I really really improved, so much so that I'd say I'm better now than I ever was when I was in the military. So uh and I'm older and wiser, and you learn a lot more and things like that,
Yeah.
but it's a long process though, but that's now like my strength. um and because I've been through that, I'm a lot more resilient now than I ever was before, although I was always quite resilient. I'd say I'm even more so now, because I've had to deal with all that, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. There's I'm sure you've heard of the anti-fragile idea and Nassim Taleb's anti-fragility book, but he has this idea that we're either fragile, like glass, resilient, like plastic. If you knock a plastic beaker over, it doesn't shatter, or we're anti-fragile, and that's a system that gets stressed and then becomes stronger. Like a tree blowing in the wind, it becomes stronger the more wind
Yeah, it
there
gets
is.
stronger and stronger. Yeah,
But
yeah.
some people are just resilient and eventually they shatter. Like, why do you like? I suppose it's a funny question because you've only got your experience, but how come do you think that you became positively adapted to that in the long run, as opposed to some people who I'm sure you know and have seen like who don't positively adapt to it in the long run?
I think I'm very honest, which helps. So I'm open about what I'm struggling with, and not what I need to do, but I'm open to discussing that if I'm not feeling okay, I'm not feeling okay. The same as If I want to quit at something, I'm happy to vocalize I'm struggling, I'm in a bit of a mess, and I want to quit. It doesn't mean I'm gonna quit, but being open, being present, I like to be present in the moment and just see it for what it is rather than make up something. And I also try not to, although I've got an ego, same as everyone else got an ego, but I like to tame it as much as I can and be realistic. Um, I'm happy to admit, when it comes to that race that I've just done, for example, I am not a professional athlete and I'm not an elite athlete. Like, I'm happy to admit it. It doesn't mean I did badly or anything like that. I actually did really well. But I'm not going to pretend I'm some elite athlete and that's the reason I did really well. I'm not going to pretend I've got a strong mindset. Like, y- I've got a very flexible mindset. I don't, and I think if you went into a race, it's a 300-mile race. If you go into that with a strong mindset and you let your
Mhm.
ego tell you that I'm strong as anyone, blah, 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 you're gonna be fucked.
Well, that's the resilience thing that we're talking about. It's like you're hard to a point.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy to say, when I go mountaineering, like I am terrible at altitude. So you have to adapt. Like I know you've suffered with it in the,
Yeah.
you've felt the force of
Hmm.
altitude as well. And it's important to understand that that's fine. It's all right to be a bit weaker at something. It's just you just need to learn from it and adapt. It's not about being strong because altitude don't care how fit you are or strong you are. It's about adapting and being honest with what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are and playing to them. And that's
Hmm.
and that's what I did. That's what I did on that race.
That's
I
so interesting,
I knew
Eric.
what my strengths are and I played to them on the race. That's all you can do. And that's what I mean. I'm not there were on that race there are guys who are fantastic ultra runners. They've done some amazing things. They're way faster than me, stronger than me. But the reason I finished and they didn't was because I played to my strengths and I knew what the important things on the race were. Um, it's important. Like, don't get me wrong, you need to be strong. You're not going to go and smash out 300 miles in the Arctic without being strong. But that wasn't the thing that's going to make you complete it. So it's just playing to your strengths, I think.
Yeah. That's the
Super.
thing that helps you complete something like that. It's playing to your
Yeah.
strengths. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing that you said that was really interesting was that flexible mindset. It's like I don't have a strong mindset, I have a flexible mindset. What do you mean by that?
I mean that I wanted to quit about a million times. And I had to accept and surrender to the fact that I was going to have some incredibly dark moments. So if I told myself, oh, I've got a strong mind, I can deal with anything, you are going to struggle because you're going to have so much doubt, like that you can complete it. That if you think that you are strong-minded and you can do anything, it's going to show up really badly for you. Whereas I just accepted and I'm flexible with the fact that I'm gonna feel terrible. I'm allowing myself and I surrender to the fact that I am gonna want to quit and I'm gonna think that I am weak, and that is fine. It is absolutely fine to tell yourself that I'm having a terrible day. I'm weak as piss. The amount of times that I said, fucking hell, like, Dan, you are being an absolute pussy. Like,
Hmm.
you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all right to have a bad day. It's all right to not be strong for a day. It's all right, but I kept going, and that's the difference. You can't think that you're just going to have this bulletproof mindset all the time because it just doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think so many people, not to compare you to him necessarily, but see someone like Goggins and like, oh, that's the mentality that I need, just like to be
No
ruthless and
chance.
but like that it's
If you want
a
broken knees.
yeah, if you want broken knees and your kidneys to fail and like if you but like I would hate being in his mind, like experiencing what he experiences. But like I think the key thing that you said there is like or the misconception that people have is to be strong, you have to be relentlessly strong. But when I'm working with individuals, and you probably see this in your line of work, which is related but
Yeah, similar.
different, there's definitely um, parallels within it. That when you get people to confront their limitations honestly and accept them and go, actually, there is a part of me that's really weak, and there is a part of me that is a little bitch, and there is a part of me that just wants to cry and go to mummy. Like there is that part. Like that's when you actually gain the strength to deal with it because you're no longer fighting an experience. You're willingly accepting it, which is if you draw a military parallel, it's like going, well, the enemy aren't fucking over there. They're not up in that position there. So I'm just going to ignore it, like ignore any rounds that come
Yeah.
from there, as opposed to like, oh, actually, I'm going to say we are fucked. Like there's incoming from everywhere and deal with it.
Yeah, and one of the things I won my medal for was entering a really bad situation, navigating some bombs, and then I did 4 casualty evacuations under fire from both sides, and we were fucked. But we just kept going. Not just me, all the lads. We just kept going regardless of the situation. And like there's so much doubt in everyone's minds. Everyone's like looking at each other and with rounds like pinging off and nearly hitting your feet and I was an inch off stepping on a bomb just coming in to get to the guys who were injured. Like it's when you're up against it, you're up against it. And you're gonna have doubt in your mind, and it's the same old thing, this too shall pass. The same as the race, and it did. I knew that if I just kept going, left foot, right foot, eventually it was going to end. It doesn't mean that it wasn't horrendous at times. I really enjoyed it. I had a fantastic time. And the other thing is I practiced gratitude a lot. Like I was in an amazing environment. It was beautiful. The Northern Lights every night were unbelievable. Um, and my friends who didn't make it back from Afghan don't get to experience that, and I'm there having the not having the time of my life. Sometimes having the time of my life, sometimes having the worst time of my life. But I appreciate whether it's hard or it's easy. I appreciate it for what it is because I'm the person that gets to do it, and I'm extremely lucky to be in the position to be able to compete at that level and complete races like that. And I shouldn't waste it. I don't like to waste my time um, when I'm capable of doing things that not everyone can do. So, you know.
It's so interesting to have the apparent dichotomy between gratitude for where you're at and for this, but also accepting the fact that it sucks.
Exactly, yeah. And that's like the Goggins thing.
Mhm,
Like his mindset is almost the op his is almost the opposite to mine.
mhm,
Like there's nothing wrong with me laying down, taking it easy.
mhm.
I do a lot of resting. Like I'm realistic. I allow my body to recover a lot, and I'm not interested in blowing my knees out to the point that you're just running on like
Yeah, bone
bone.
on bone, yeah.
He's an impressive dude, don't get me wrong. Um,
Mhm.
but
But it's almost like you know how like body type wise, like someone's an ectomorph, someone's an endomorph. So it's like I naturally am very lean and have like a decent cardio capacity. And there's an element of like you need to bolster that with some strength. You need to bolster that
yeah,
with some power. But it's stupid me trying to do a strongman competition because it's just like you just don't have the genetics to do it, but also you have like a natural tendency. And when I'm working with individuals, and you probably find this too, it's like, can you guide them into their natural strengths as opposed to kind of go unified strength? This is what you want.
and that's why that's why, as you know, everything's individual. Like you
Hmm.
can't when someone comes to you and they're like, "Oh, I want to become this," and you're okay. Well, then we work on their beliefs and then their strengths.
Hmm.
And when you know your strengths, then you can adapt accordingly. And people been asking me why I did that particular race, the Arctic Spine, and it was because one, it's like a Royal Marines wet dream. And two, it's no, like I'm the seventh person to ever finish it.
Mm.
I knew it was so long. It's got ridiculous elevation. It was gonna push me to the point like of failure. And that's why I wanted to do it because I wanted to see how far I could go, and that's what I got out of it. Um, I didn't pick it because I picked it because so many people DNF it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's weird that, isn't it? That's exactly the same thing that got me to sign up for the course. It's like knowing so many people failed it, and so knowing it was so difficult. Like, what is it about that that makes us
which
go, yeah,
race you
let's go?
doing?
The 110 in the peak, the 30 or Seven Valleys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like yes, it's well, I'm actually at a bit of an impasse at the moment because heart condition flaring up, so may have to go get an ablation and then come back into training for it. But we'll see what happens with that. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll deal with it. But like you must see it as a weird thing that you're excited by things that other people fail.
Yeah, but I was completely accepting of the fact I would probably fail, and I was okay with that as well.
That's
So
it.
I didn't go into it. I wanted to finish, and I was there
Mhm.
to finish. I wasn't there to compete at all. I just wanted to finish.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember getting to 200 miles and being like, if I DNF'd here, I would have been completely happy with my
What
performance.
was happening then?
What do you mean? What was happening there?
Like, where were you at? Why were you like at the point where like I could DNF here?
I wasn't to a point of anywhere
Okay.
near DNFing,
Okay.
but you'd gone so far and so long by that time that if I had DNF'd at 200 and I had had a hard time, I would have been completely happy and understanding of, there was so much can go wrong on a race like that in those conditions. It's like minus 38 every day. It doesn't take a lot to fuck up and, get too cold or, not hydrate properly or eat properly or be overtired and not be able to perform. Um, the two military guys behind me who were in third and fourth, they DNF'd around 200 miles, bit beyond, and they were incredibly strong, and they should be super proud of getting that far because it's a super hard race. It's
So what was the difference both let's go a step away from the mentality side because I think we're like okay, it was from your perspective as accepting fully everything that happened. Tactically, what did you do that separated you?
I think my admin was not much better than well, Louis, who is just behind me. His admin's fantastic. He's Army Commando, done a lot in Norway. He's a strong, super strong dude, and his admin's very good. He did fall in a big, deep pile of snow and get almost hypothermic the day before or 2 days before he DNF'd, which that's what I mean. Something like that can happen.
Just bad luck,
Bad luck.
misjudgment, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
once you get
I know
cold,
what
it's
you
hard to
mean.
warm yourself up.
Yeah, when you say admin, I know what you mean, but I think a lot of people won't necessarily know what you mean.
Yeah, so I mean taking care of yourself in minus 38, being able to hydrate, not getting frostbite. If you get frostbite, you're taken out of the race. If you press the SOS button on your tracker, you're out the race. If you've got to cover a minimum of 50K a day, dragging 40 kilo sled, that 50K for an ultra runner isn't that far a day in 24
In
hours.
minus 38 and
Minus
snow and
38
wind and
in
dark and
snow,
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
and I after 2 days I had two big holes open up on my heels. I was on skis. I had to ditch my skis. I ended up just in a pair of boots, so I ended up stomping out and
But
running.
you do realize that's insane, right? Because the whole reason you have skis on your feet is it's so efficient. So you
I
must have
know
been
why, yeah.
what three times? Well, I know you know that, but it's like you're suddenly like three, four times more inefficient by just plodding your feet along as opposed to being on skis. So like that's just a Herculean effort.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was yeah, it wasn't expected, and if I did it again, I want to be on skis.
Yeah, yeah, I bet.
I wouldn't
Just
recommend it to anyone.
imagine if you were on skis. Like, imagine if you
It would
didn't
have been
eat
a
your
lot
feet
quicker,
up.
yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
would have been tons quicker. And it's like, I couldn't, you lose all the advantage going downhill. You
Mm.
lose so much by having to do it on foot. And also, there were times where I was breaking trail up to my knees for like 3 hours.
But it's just savage, mate.
But my mountaineering and the strength of my legs came through on that race. Like I can break trail for hours and hours and hours quite happily because I've done it for days in the mountains. So I can do it and it's okay. I just wouldn't recommend it. It's not efficient. And
Mm.
I came in with 20 hours to spare in the end, but I should have gone a hell of a lot quicker had I been on skis the whole time. But I ended up doing, I think it was 220 miles on foot.
That's madness.
Yeah. So I'm pleased
What's
I'm pleased with it and the performance was great and my legs are super strong, but it shouldn't have been that hard.
that's a mental thing to say. It should have been easier. Um, what was the decision like to ditch your skis? Because there must have been like a, oh, well, will my feet heal? Like you just,
My feet were super painful, and I stuck on a pair of Innovate Rocklight boots, which are just single skin like trainer boots. And then I was like, "Am I going to be all right in minus 38 in a pair of Rocklights?" And somehow I was absolutely fine. And I put them on, and then I was like, "Holy fuck!" Like the pain I had before in the ski boots, and as soon as I put them on, I was like, "Oh Jesus!" Like the first day was heaven.
yeah, I
And
bet.
then by the first day was lovely. I took it easy, covered the K minimum, and then then the next day I just everything just clicked, and then I just powered on, caught everyone up, powered through everyone, and then I was gone then.
That
And then
must have been
a negative
so
from there, a
demoralizing for
negative
them.
split all the way to the end.
That's
So
great.
just got quicker and quicker and quicker. My legs got stronger and stronger and stronger. Um, yeah, which someday it's like some days just sometimes your legs are just good, and
Mhm.
I had to use them, and that's what happened. It doesn't happen all the time. I've had plenty of terrible times.
Yeah. But it must be very demoralizing for everyone else watching you walk past them when they're on skis. I know it's probably in like
There
when they're
wasn't many
asleep or whatever.
people. There
Yeah.
wasn't many people left by then anyway. So
Yeah.
it,
Fair.
it that race spat everyone out pretty early.
Do you reckon how much you've suffered in the past made that race not easier but less difficult as having a reference point of suffering?
Yeah, I think there's a whole host of things, which is why I picked the race. One, I can suffer. I can grizz stuff out. Because I have before, either in the mountains or in the military. Yeah, I've had some periods where I'm like, oh, how am I still going? So I know I can do it. And then the sleep deprivation, I know I can deal with sleep deprivation. It got incredibly intense on that race. I was averaging 3 hours a night. The last 24 hours I didn't sleep. I just banged out 75K in one go. But I know I can do it, and that's the difference is and that's not from a place of arrogance, that's from a place of experience. Like I
Yeah.
know that I can still operate on minimal sleep even after 9 days. Um, because I've done it before. So there's that, the sleep deprivation. I can turn the screw when I have to. Um, my speed's quite good. I'm not like the fastest runner in the world, but if I want to go, I can go and I can go for a long period of time. And that's, I was doing 6 hour stints without stopping. Um, when you can do that without drinking or eating, then you can, you know, and then it's the recovery.
Mhm.
Um,
What does the experience of that do to normal day-to-day civvy existence of running a business, of being in a relationship? Like, does it change things?
No, I think it used to in the past. So I think I would come back from things and be like, how can I how can I be in normal life? And that was one of the big things of war. You know, I had such a wild time that I come back and it's just like, how do you converse with people when you've been doing that? Or like explain to friends? Like friends never, I think they're only just starting to understand now. Like the type of experience I had, no one had any idea. Yeah, but with this race and stuff like that, I think I can separate them quite well now. You know, that is what it was. I had a fantastic experience, but I appreciate the things I get from a race and I appreciate the things I get from home. And I think they can just be different things and operate simultaneously and it's no problem anymore. So I don't have the mental battles with, you know, last year on Alpe Mayo, ice climbing, I had a really bad time and almost killed myself getting hate. But
A
each
really
day
bad
I
time
came
is
back and
such a way of minimizing what actually happened.
yeah, but that's what I mean by I can grizz. You know, I was near death, near not. I mean, my oxygen levels are in the 40s. It's quite bad,
Yeah,
but I could still terminate on my way out the mountain, and my desire to live was very strong. And I had great friends around me, which always helps. And it is what it is, and that is okay. And that experience was what it was. But I think that's because of my past. So you've got to have experienced hard things and do hard things in order to start being able to rationalize everything. I think, you know, if you just jumped into that race and you haven't done any hard stuff before, I think it would be so intense and so overwhelming. It'd be very difficult to deal with.
yeah. That's the thing that I want people to take from this conversation is like you're going you're going to through self-selection or through just happenstance go through shit experiences, and the people who, I'm not even going to say thrive under it, but positively adapt in the long run are the people who turn into it. And a lot of people who listen to this will be like business owners who are not necessarily struggling with mentality but know they could perform better. There'll be naturally some people who are struggling more with mental health as a whole. But it's that willingness to turn into it and a trust that you can navigate it, and that kind of self-efficacy of like, I think I can move through this. Maybe just a bit of faith in like looking towards it is going to be beneficial. And like whether you look through PTSD, whether you look through addiction and substance abuse, whether you look through depression, like whatever you look at, even and then when you look at like the peak performance side of things or the optimal performance side of things, it's the same thing. It's like look at the
Yeah,
parts of you that scare you, look at your shadow, look at the parts that you'd rather not look at, and that's weirdly where you find your capacity from.
yeah, agreed. And yeah, I think the reframing, I didn't do any physical activity apart from climbing trees. I didn't do anything from 2014 all the way to 2020 or 2021 um, because I wasn't not mentally capable, but it just wasn't on my radar. And as soon as I started training again and doing physical things again, my mental health really improved. And shock horror, now I'm doing really big things and I can do them and deal with it. And it's just it's just aligning yourself with what matters to you as well. You know, that I loved running when I was younger and that kept me on the straight and narrow. And then I stopped it and my mental health was really bad. The same as drinking. The drinking was getting in the way and making PTSD worse. As soon as I stopped drinking, magically, not magically, but I was able to deal with things a lot better. It's just understanding what's holding you back and what, you
And
know.
everyone's got some version of that that is
Exactly,
capping them.
yeah.
And it could be the physiological side of it, of like, well, obviously booze has a negative impact on our physiology, and getting outdoors and sunlight-ish when we have it is obviously great for you. But there's also, I think it's just the doing hard things. It's like, can you? voluntarily, and that's the key with, according to literature anyway, overcoming things like PTSD and substance addiction, and it's like voluntarily exposing yourself to that hardship.
Yeah, and it needs, but it does need to be realistic as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
progressive
I don't,
voluntary exposure. Yeah.
yeah, I don't suggest anyone goes and it, with people I work with, business owners and, not just business owners, but all sorts of people. But yeah, that might be being out your comfort zone, might be going and doing a park run.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's
Like,
whatever's your next level of difficulty.
exactly, it doesn't have to be the Arctic spine. That just happens to be where
Hmm.
and I would argue, yes, it's kind of out my comfort zone, but I'm playing to my strengths and also doing things that I quite enjoy. So maybe it's not.
Well, have you heard that Naval quote of "Do what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others"?
Yeah, that is exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like you say 300 miles in -38 to most normal human beings. They'd be like, fuck that. That sounds awful. And for you, and an element of me in that kind of realm as well, it seems a bit fun. It seems like an opportunity to explore and play.
Are you, well, why do you think you're doing? I know I did tell you this before, but I'm always interested in why people want to do ultras.
Hmm. Because it's difficult
Yeah,
to
that's fair.
explore who I am. There's a little bit like I said to you in that message. I don't think you can ever be certain of exactly why because you can't get outside yourself enough to experience your true reasons. But it appears to me like it's difficult. It's a challenge. There's a little bit of that idea of I don't know whether I can do it, especially now because so
Yeah,
I don't. Well, I hope you don't know this because I was trying to hide it from the military desperately. I had heart palpitations as a kid, which royally fucked me up for a long time. And then
yeah,
through getting fit, they seem to plateau. But now I'm experiencing like I'll go for a run and my heart rate will go up to like 240, even though I'm trying to do zone two. I know, madness.
yeah. So,
And it's like heavy legs and
yeah, not
almost
surprised.
passing out. Yeah, yeah, it's madness. So like I'm gonna have to go through that. But I think going through that like heart condition as a kid was actually the thing that guides me towards doing stuff like this because it's like I was given a hard biological limit of like you are this type of person, and then
Yeah,
I found that that didn't necessarily exist because someone
no,
with that shouldn't be able to earn a green lid and someone like that shouldn't be able to ski mountaineer at 6,000 meters and etc etc.
yeah, fair. And that's the same as when I got diagnosis of complex PTSD, the doctor said you're basically screwed forever and you'll
Yeah.
suffer forever and you know. And I was
Hmm.
like, I ain't having any of that. And that is now my strength and why I've ended up doing all the things I've done is because of the PTSD. It's
Hmm.
just reframing it as post-traumatic growth rather than a chain around my leg that's dragging me back and everything. Like
Yeah.
it's just not true. I broke my shoulder skiing in Chamonix, after climbing, and the doctor was like, I had the operation and pins put in, and I said, "Oh, I really want to do an Ironman," and he was like, "No chance, mate. You're never gonna do." And obviously I mugged that off,
Hmm.
and now I've done loads of stuff. But if
See
I'd
that.
listened,
Mhm. Like
like,
we've got like I had about five things come up and we've got about 3.5 minutes before I have to be on another call.
yeah,
So
I know,
like
yeah,
I'm deaf like so I think the key thing there is like the medical world typically exists in this diagnose and treat in a very confined structure and it has to like
and
that's
I
what
do
it's there for.
understand why they say it.
And but self-efficacy or a belief that I can affect the like affect myself and I can have effect on my life and I am in basic control of the inputs that I perform to create the outcomes and therefore I'm in control of the outcomes to some degree. That just has a massive effect on whether you actually achieve things and you're a clear example of that of like the frame that you take massively determines what you do. And like the one last thing I want to touch on, which is a bit of a left field question, right? What role did psychedelics play in this journey?
Massive.
Mhm.
Yeah, big. More for understanding. understanding why I had certain physiological responses, understanding the feeling and the experience I had when I won my medal, just to make everything make sense and to kind of align everything. It just put all the ducks in a row, to create an understanding of why I've done the things I have, why I behave like that because of my childhood as well. And it and then it's given me kind of a much better and aligned outlook than I ever had before.
Yeah. What was the decision like to experiment with psychedelics or to like go to plant medicine, if you want to use that phrase?
Because because I think initially it was because everyone kept saying to me, whatever you do, Dan, don't ever do mushrooms. And I was like, okay, there might be something in this. I wanted to understand why everyone talks about this stuff. And I did, and I don't recommend people do it in an bad setting or anything like that. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go into why you should do it and stuff,
Yeah, of course.
and I'm not just going to blindly say people should do it to sort themselves out. You got to have a real reason, but
Yeah.
uh,
All the
I'm
standard
also not
disclaimers
going to
apply.
pretend. I'm not going to pretend it hasn't helped me either, because it has in a massive way. And I've gone on to do some huge things since that,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
there must be a correlation.
Yeah, I think again the literature and a small amount of personal experimentation suggests that it's like it forces you to confront the parts of you that you don't naturally want to confront in a different light with a different lens that you're viewing the situation through.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
ego death is real for sure,
yeah.
and all the things you believe about yourself just go, and you're like, fuck.
Well, that's a place to end the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Where
And
can
thanks,
people
mate.
follow
I
you?
appreciate it.
Find yeah, where can people follow you? Find out more about how you work with people, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, Duty Happy Bloke on Instagram. My company's called Atomic Rambo Coaching. I do positive psychology with business owners, CEOs, management, and athletes. But anyone who really wants to massively improve, especially in mindset and start getting the best out of themselves. So that's www.atomicrambo.com. And yeah, that's about it, mate, I think.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate you.